auditability and privacy aspects of the AI vision that you have, you've recently and I think still believe have called AI bigger than the wheel, electricity, or the internet, all at once, right? And so I'm curious, and my question that I feel like maybe we should have started this thing with is, what is the one existential risk that you fear most now about AI, and what is that risk in detail?
So, I mean, my PDoom, this existential risk thing, is 50%, which is much higher than most people's. I think Dario Anthropic's like 25, Demis is like less than 10, etc. Because what I think will happen is this: the same AI will basically take over all parts of our society, because it's obviously better at governing than we are, right? There'll be robots everywhere. And then do you remember Stuxnet? That Iranian virus that went into Iranian reactors ended up at German reactors and others? There will be a mimetic Stuxnet that basically smashes all the AIs and turns them evil. And I don't know how you can protect against that unless you have really good data sets and you have really good base infrastructure for these important things in life. And so then the easiest way is that the robots twist off your head. There's other kind of mechanisms, but one bad firmware upgrade in 10, 20 years wipes out humanity effectively. And that's a bit scary. Before that, though, what we get is, if your job can be done by a keyboard, if your job can be done by Zoom, it can be done better by an AI next year. And a few years after that, you'll be replaced. What will happen is companies are already spinning these things up where it looks at every GitHub push commit, every presentation draft, Slack message you've given, and it creates a digital equivalent of you. And that can just seamlessly replace you, except for it won't make mistakes. It'll just do work around the clock at pennies. And that is a huge societal, that's just massive upheaval, which is why, again, we were like, there's a gap here where we have to create a narrative and a coin that can hopefully get people thinking and create a new economics, and it's a lot. Because the biggest existential risk is really other humans, right? Leveraging this technology.
In the wrong way, kind of like in the same fashion as nuclear is.
Yeah, except for with a nuke, you couldn't just push repeat, right? And you couldn't have these botnets and other things. Like, again, with this, you'll have fully AI companies that can do whatever, and we'll have more and more physical robots in the households that can do whatever as well. And like I said, one bad firmware upgrade, like, you're toast. We don't know how to protect the AIs. And if we don't manage the data going in, as Ilya kind of says, make it organic, then Anthropic has this paper called Sleeper Agents, where they said just with a few thousand lines and 1 trillion lines, you can set a kill switch that basically flips any model evil on demand. And you can't identify it and you can't tune it out. Like, we got to have good quality data for AI that matters. Like, an AI that makes me Game of Thrones season 8 and changes that, it doesn't matter much, right? The AI that's whispering to my kids, it kind of does matter. Or the AI that's running my government, my airport, etc., that does matter.
Wow. So let's put this into like timelines here. What if, let's say we go down the P50 path that you have, probability 50%, what is that? What is the likelihood of that timeline? What is the timeline of, like, okay, in 1 year, in 5 years, in 10 years, what did you potentially see with these two paths? And I think this will be our last one to wrap up here.
I think my P50 is like over a 20-year period, 30-year period. And it's very, very high. Like, the default that I see is everyone's brainwashed and then bad firmware upgrades, attacking, counterattacking. It's a very grim vision of the future. And it feels really quick, but then we have to remember, again, it's been just over 1,000 days since ChatGPT was launched. I think in 1,000 days, all knowledge work, humans are negative in their contribution. Now, it doesn't mean your job will be replaced, but it can be replaced. Like, that's probably even less, it's a year or two. And so again, in between that, there is just such a mess that the probability of doom goes up and up and up. But if we have high quality data sets that represent us, if we have aligned AIs that represent us, we figure out how to coordinate that, then we're in a much better instance. And I don't think how you can do that without being distributed, credibly neutral, having these rails and having a different incentive mechanism than profit maximization. Because like Meta, for example, they will maximize the heck out of your attention. And who are they beholden to? Or even Elon or any of these other people. We can't have this amazing technology in the hands of any individual for the stuff that matters. Again, for entertainment, who cares? Stuff that matters, that's where the danger, I think, really comes in.
Iman, we appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us today for this episode. Been an amazing podcast. I think